Two vets, two different worlds, one badass show. Center Mass with Rob and Silent J, blowing your mind away on the Vets Own Media Network.
What a great way to start the night. All right, everybody. So, hello and welcome back to Center Mass with Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I am Silent J.
And I know I'm dressed up a little bit more than normal. Like I was saying to Jay before we started, you never really tell just how much you gained weight or how much you lost weight during the week until you get a camera in front of your face. Then you can start to see, man, for those of you that aren't watching on Google+, I think I ate way too much salt today because I'm looking a little chubby. But I guess that's a good thing to keep you honest and accountable, right? Maybe it's the monkey suit that I've been wearing all day. But for everybody listening, Silent J is now a year older. So everybody in your own heads or in your own car or wherever you are, please join us in giving a happy birthday to Silent J. I'm not going to sing because man has not invented technology yet that can withstand the sound of my horrible singing. So I will refrain from damaging all you guys with that. But how's it going, Jay? How's it feel to be a year older now?
Fuck.
Yeah, that's what I said last time,
that
too.
sums it up right there. I'm 35, and I am officially closer to 70 than I am 0. So, I don't.
Wow, that's a good way to think about it. I've never. That's a scary way to think about it.
Yeah, and I'm even closer to being sad. So I don't know. I get all excited a couple days before my birthday. I'm like, fuck, it's another year. Age-wise, whatever, seasoned. And then that hangover about 3/4 of the way through your birthday.
Yep.
You work all day, and then you come home, and it's like, I'm going to work again tomorrow. It's just really, really blows the sails, down. Not full of wind, but just blows them over. And it's like, I'm stuck.
Well, and so what were you doing? What did you spend your birthday doing? Because I sent you a, hey, happy birthday, and you didn't seem like you were at a very birthday-appropriate place.
No, I wasn't. And I'm full-time in the reserves. I'm AGR. That's my day job. I'm active duty at a reserve unit. For those of you that don't know what it is, if you guys do know what it is, what's up, AGRs? We're like the gray area of the Army. And drill weekends, when the reservists come in, that 1 weekend a month, I'm there to basically babysit them. I spent a good chunk of my weekend showing people, okay, see where it says to sign your name? That's where you sign your fucking name. And aggravated this early in the show. I thought I was going to wait until after the Don Sterling topic, but just beyond me that people don't know how to sign their name on stuff. It's like you had to sign your name at least once in your life to get into the Army. So I know this isn't new to you, and X amount of years through school. I know this isn't new. I'm not asking for too much. It's just to sign your name. And there's just so much stuff. And I looked at it, and I'm starting to realize I'm coming up on my 14th year in the Army. I got 5 months to go for that one. But I feel like the Vietnam vet in the mid-'90s. It's like, shit just passed me by. It really has passed me by. We spent our whole weekend doing classes and courses and check the box type of thing.
Which is a big part of the Army. People don't realize just how much time you spend doing that stuff in the Army.
Oh, I could tell you how much time we spent this weekend. The whole weekend on it. And it's like, some people, that's all they know, so just got to do this, and they feel the sense of accomplishment afterwards. Like, you see all the stuff we got done? Well, no, I didn't, because I'm in a unit that drives vehicles, and people don't know how to ground guide a vehicle. Don't walk backwards when you ground guide a vehicle. I wanted to clothesline a person. I was, when I reclassed into maintenance, I'm a mechanic now in the Army, and I had a very evil individual who was my boss. He was a CW2. He was a Gulf War vet, and really showed me the ropes. Not like being a mechanic in the Army is hard, by any stretch of the imagination. The guy yawning had the much harder job than I did, But he showed me all this stupidity that you could come across in your job, and the little things he planted in my head to make sure people are safe in training environments and in combat and whatever the case may be. I see that, and it just, the Chief Clark in me just starts to bubble up, and it's like, you don't walk backwards when you're ground guiding a vehicle. You don't walk in between vehicles that are running, because guess what? You know, e-brakes aren't that safe, so you could get crushed. It's just stupid stuff like that. Like, I've never had anybody get hurt, on my watch, and I want to keep it that way.
Yet, I gotta be the asshole that adds the yet. Sorry.
Yes. And so I see stuff like that. Like, okay, we're just at a reserve unit, so okay, here's how you can get hurt. This is how you won't get hurt. This is what you have to do for your job. This is what you have to do for New Army. So there's people that, and I'm not, they're probably all listening, I hope. I'm not bashing anybody, but it's the climate that we're in now. Of you get the sense of accomplishment when you could check in a couple boxes that people did this, and this online, and I look at it as like, you know what? We have the internet, computers, and that stuff. You could do that at home. Soldiers can do that at home. I do that stuff at home sometimes. You know, I go home. I don't want to do that stuff when I'm at work. So when I'm at home, I do this stupid piddly stuff. So when I'm at work, I can really work. And it's just like, these people,
yeah, but that's
all the stuff we got done. Yeah, do you see how stupid people are around here? You see how they don't know how to be soldiers? They don't know how to do their job. No fault to them. That's all they've ever known. I mean, if all you ever eaten is shit, you don't know what a strawberry tastes like. So, you know.
Yeah, and that is kind of the unfortunate part that you get. Well, I guess it's in all society today, because we've seen the same, I mean, everywhere. When I worked at UCLA, when I worked at Raytheon, when I was in the Army, in the job that I'm at now, like, you really see just how different it is. And I don't know. I don't know if it's me getting older and turning into that, like, crotchety old bastard that I didn't ever think I'd become, but, like, I see people now and I'm like, geez, what kind of music are these whippersnappers listening to? Or what's that stupid car that they're driving? Why in the world do they do that? But then there's a lot of people that I go, oh my God, how do you not realize this? Like, how do you not know how to tie a tie? How do you not know? Like, I had to explain to a 50-year-old man how to get his password that he forgot for a website. I had to explain this to him, like, yeah, click forgot password.
He's because the internet's been around for 20 years. That means 30. That means, you know what, when you're 30, you're really on top of the ball when it comes to that. So I don't want to hear that excuse, I'm 50, I don't know better.
Well, the guy has a technical job. If the guy was like a hermit or like, I don't know, something that, you know, he had to go clean up leaves in the middle of the woods all day, fine. But this guy is like, he works on a sound stage, which means he has a technical job. He's around technical stuff all day long, right? So I don't buy that. But it's just, as I get older, my tolerance for people is like,
and that's the thing. My tolerance, it may have been if it wasn't my birthday, if it wasn't like a nice weekend, you know, maybe my tolerance would have been a little easier. But I had that ultimate old man sound come out of me today. I was talking to an E5, and he's like, well, we got this. I'm like, okay, you know, this and this has to happen. And a private just walked up. Sergeant Silent J. Let's go with the Silent J for the night.
Sergeant Silent J.
And I just pointed towards the door, and I went like this. And he's like, I didn't even get out of here. I just, and he just, okay. And he turned and he walked away. And the E5 that was looking at me, he's like, right on, man. So yeah, that's how my birthday went.
You know, I think like having kids changes everything in your life, and I used to make that sound a lot. Like I don't know, certain things have made me very frustrated in the last couple of years, and so I've got a 3.5-year-old son, and you really start to realize he's like a sponge. At this point, he picks up on everything, and he's in this like very daddy-centered kind of time in his life. You know, they go back and forth all the time. But
very important.
What's that?
Very important time.
Yeah, it is. It's a very important. I said, and for the little girl too, because she's gonna marry some asshole that reminds her of me. So I better like start getting my stuff together. But I would make that same sound when things would make me really mad. I didn't want to go on a cursing tirade in front of my kids, so I would just go, and I would just like, that was like my keeping, like in my head, I'm dropping F-bombs and S-bombs and N-bombs and D-bombs and P-bombs and T-bombs and everything you can think of, like stubbing my toe, because that was a big one to me. The way that my desk is situated in my house, there's this little projection that's right at foot level, And I come out here because I'm, when I'm writing my book, I get ideas at the craziest times. So I'll run to my desk and start writing stuff down. And I won't be wearing shoes, or maybe I've had a couple of drinks, or, whatever's going on. And I'll be like excited because I just added something substantial to my book, or notes for the show, or a speech that I got to give, or something I got to do. And then I'll like kind of walk away triumphantly and stub my toe. And so it's like nothing makes you lose your I'm awesome, like triumphant feeling more than stubbing your toe so hard you want to cry. And so I'll stub my toe and just go, and yeah. I did this for a while. I did it for a while, and then I saw my son doing it like a month ago. I saw him just go, and I went, oh, great, now I got to cut that out too. Okay.
Nice. A quick thing before we get into how society is making us crotchety old men. My daughter the other day, she's gonna be 8 years old next month, and I call her my spawn because she is my spawn. Unfortunately, she acts a lot like me. Very smart, but also doesn't really take life too serious, and is kind of funny. So it's like, oh man, I know what you're gonna be doing in 10 years. I don't. She goes, Dad, I want to wear this outfit tomorrow. I'm like, no, you can't wear it. She just got a bunch of summer clothes. I'm like, sorry, kid, can't wear it. It's too cold for you to wear shorts. Can't let you wear shorts. But Dad, I'm like, no. She goes like this, you're a whore. But here's the thing. For one, she knows me quite well. For two, when she hangs out with her mom, and I'm not pinning this on her mom, her mom's, I don't know, tries to feel or act younger than what she is. She's in her 30s, folks. But, the new thing now is shortening words. So instead of cray, it's cray. So girls say, that's cray-cray. Can't believe it.
Which is just as long as crazy.
Yeah, so it takes equal amount of time. So that's cray-cray. My daughter was trying to shorten horrible, like I am horrible, or suppressing what she wants to wear. And I came out, you're a whore, and I told her, I looked at her, and I stopped, and I looked at her, I'm like, what'd you say? And she goes, you're a whore. I'm like, that's a bad word. She's like, and then she's just like, I'm like, were you trying to say something else? She's like, yeah. I'm like horrible? She's like, yeah, and she walked away, and I'm like, I can't be mad at her. She didn't know. But, yeah.
Was she trying to wear booty shorts? Because that's my biggest fear. Like, my wife...
Yeah, she called me a whore, and she's the one trying to wear little shorts. Like,
I think that's the curse. Like, my daughter is turning out to be a pretty good-looking... She's going to be a good-looking little girl. She looks just like her mom, right? Thank God she's not going to look like me, because I would make an ugly freaking woman, right? I don't make a great-looking man, but I would make a very bad-looking woman. My wife, beautiful woman, but same thing. Like, she knows it, and she was a cheerleader her whole life, so... she's had 2 kids, and she's still like a size 0, right? So for clothes. So she'll wear like booty shorts around, and she gets mad because I speck her ass, right? That's just like, and anytime she gets mad, I go, you cannot wear those around me and not get your ass smacked. Like, we got 2 kids to prove it. Like, that you're putting those on, and it's such a bad example for my little girl because I basically say you put those on, you're asking for it, right? Like, what a bad example. But that is my biggest fear because my wife, like, we had people over here for dinner the other day, and they came over, and she's wearing, like, those workout bicycle shorts, like, but not the ones that go on your knee, the ones that go just below the butt cheek, and, like, a tank top with no bra. And I had to go, like, hey, honey, we have guests over here. Why don't you go put on some fucking clothes? And I'm just worried that, like, of course, because mom does it. That's what my wife's going to do. And if I ever catch some little guy looking at her ass or trying to spank her ass like I do to her mom, I'm going to grab that hand, I'm going to break it in 15 pieces.
I'll do that. I'm going to, same thing. And I pray to whatever deity that all of our listeners believe in, God, Allah, Jehovah, Buddha, Stephen Hawkins, one of those weird Halo Bop guys, aliens with Nikes, whoever you believe in. I pray that my daughter is a lesbian until the age of 30.
I think I would be very happy with that, too. Because you can't look at your daughter, but you can look at her significant other. That wouldn't be creepy.
Right. And a girl cannot get a girl pregnant on prom night, and that is my biggest fear. I just don't...
Yes.
That's my fear. Yes. I don't want that. I do not want that. You could teach abstinence. You could teach condoms, whatever the case may be. You could say you can't even threaten them and say you're gonna get AIDS because they're like, yeah, I get to be Magic Johnson and be a billionaire. You can't. That's gone down the hill. It's like you're poor. You're gonna be like Eazy. Now shut up. You can't. And
That's very strange. And so it's on the topic of lesbians, and we're gonna get to crotchety old man in a minute, but I think lesbians are more interesting than crotchety old men.
Yeah.
I noticed this, and I was speaking with someone the other day. Right, I live in California. I live in Los Angeles, California, which is there's a very large preponderance of Asian folks here. Right, I'm married to one. Right, my wife is Asian. Right, there's a lot of Asian women around here. I've noticed. Only because, I guess only since I've been here, even though I've been attracted to Asian women since I met my wife in high school, there is a very large preponderance of lesbian, Thai, Filipino, Vietnamese women, right? I don't understand this, and I don't know how many are out there or how many were from Buffalo, and there's no way to say this without sounding racist or sexist or misogynistic or some conglomeration of all the two, so I don't care, and I'm not going to mince words here, but I don't get it. Like, it's hot because I think Asian women are hot, and lesbians are hot, and so Asian lesbians are just like, right on, okay? But why is that? Like, does anybody know? I've never been able to understand, and I'm not saying this is like any kind of joke or anything, but I've noticed around here there are a lot of, like, that Southern Pacific lesbian women. I don't know why. We had dinner lunch. We had dim sum with an old friend that's in town from China today, and right next to us had to be the most uncomfortable lunch in the history of humanity. It was Asian father and wife, right? So two older Asian parents, obviously like mother and father, and then two Asian girls, obviously lovers, right? So the thing about Asian parents, like Asian parents they're not very, if you're not within the inner circle, they're not very, I don't give a shit what you think or who you are or anything like that. Like, they seem very cold if they don't know you, but once you're in that circle, they're your best buds, right? That's because that's the way it is. They're just very, very open and warm and friendly with other people. Not a single word between anybody there. We were there for probably 3 hours. And there was the couple, looked at each other and smiled a couple times. No interaction between daughter and parents, lesbian lover and parents, or anywhere else in between there. I thought that had to be extremely uncomfortable. Like, the Asian, they don't like it very much. It's not very accepted in their culture. But there are a lot of Asian lesbian women here in California. And I don't, is it the water? And because my wife, my daughter's half Asian, so I don't know, maybe that means we'll get our wish, right? Am I taking crazy pills? Is it just because I'm looking for it?
I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, Asian lesbians, I'm down with that. I like that Laotian, that Southeastern Asian, Laotians.
Laotian. Yeah.
Hmongs are hot chicks too.
David Whitman, one of our listeners, says he also thinks lesbians are hot. When he sees lesbians make out, he loves it. LOL. Dave?
Before I was laughing at David's comments.
I can't see that's all right. So I'm married, right? We had somebody that was on my team. Their wife. I was in Germany. I was single. All right, I wasn't married when I was in Germany and I was in the army. Every once in a while, we'd have lunch at a strip club, right? Hey, go. When you're in special forces, you can die on any given day. You never know where you're going to be the next day. Every once in a while, you need some titties in your face during lunch, right? So we would go do it. And I was single, there's some other single guys. There were a lot of married guys on the team. But one of the guys, our team sergeant, said he would show up at home every once in a while, and his wife would be like, "You guys went to the strip club again today, wouldn't you?" And he'd be like, "There's no use in lying." Yeah, but she was totally cool with it. She used to say, "You can work up your appetite anywhere you want, just always eat dinner at home." That's like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, good. That's a good relationship.
I don't know how in the world I got on that tangent, but yeah.
I don't know. But speaking of tangents, man, I could talk about lesbians all night long. But I don't know. Maybe you should start this. But a lot's been going on in the news with race issues and race relations or race breakdowns, and it just. I don't know. If I was like a 55-year-old man, I'd say it grinds my gears, but here's the grind. I'm just flesh and bone. I don't know. I thought we were in that state of nirvana when it comes to race relations, where nobody's racist anymore.
Well, I think it all boils down to the slow news cycle and the 24-hour news, right? So there's 24 hours a day of news, but they all have to cover these stupid little things that really shouldn't matter, and I think that's what brings it to the. I think, okay. So I saw this quote the other day. I'm a parent. I have an app on my phone, and I shouldn't show an iPhone because now we can probably get sued. But I have this app on my phone that's called the Pedophile Tracker app or Pederast.com or whatever it is. But I can basically turn it on.
I'm with you.
It goes where I live in a certain area of Southern California. It'll show me every pedophile within a certain radius of my house. And I can even, if we're going to go on a trip somewhere, I can put Colorado Springs, and we go back to Colorado Springs or Buffalo, New York, wherever. It'll show me every pedophile around a certain zip code. But I can also look at their face, a picture of them, what they did, all these other things. Unless they're in the military. For some reason, if they're in the military and on a military base, their identities are concealed. But so I get kind of spun up about this because as a parent of two pretty attractive kids, it's my idea that there's just pedophiles everywhere. My kids are in constant danger.
I'm the same way. I don't like when people look at my kid when we're out. Unless old people where it's just they don't got much time left. They're just gonna smile at anything because
Yeah. And they probably got hard candy in their pocket somewhere.
Yeah, you want a peppermint? Shut up. Where's
old man with a cane giving hard candy to your kid? Completely cool. 30-year-old dude with a pencil thin mustache? Not cool, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That's where you draw the line, right there. But
and then when you find out there's no candy in the van.
But the weird thing about that is that I have this perception. All the parents that I know have the same perception, right? In reality, child abductions and cases of pedophilia have gone down substantially over the last few decades. So it's this thing where it's happening less, but we have this 24-hour news cycle, and so we think it's getting greater and greater and greater. And I think that's where racism lies today. I think it really is. I think racially we're all pretty cool, except Asians. Asians are the most racist people on the planet. I'm not kidding you, man. Asians are just as racist as they come. But because we see when something like this happens, and we're going to get to the clip before I can give it away, but the news, just the smallest thing, and it's happened quite a few times in the last month or so. But I think it's really good because you get to see a chance, different media, they really show their colors, right? And that's the thing, we all want to say that it's true, unbiased media, but none of it's unbiased, right? They all have their own places and their own opinions that they come from. And it happens, it's never more apparent than when something like this happens. And you can see the same thing happened, but then the New York Post and the Washington Post and the Houston Post and the Times Tribune all write articles about the same exact thing and the way that they cover it. And Yahoo, if anybody from Yahoo is listening, you fell out of my good graces today because we're going to talk about one of your articles. And yeah, screw you, Yahoo. Now I understand why you're going down the drain.
I tell you what, and this ties into the best worst tweet of the week, and the reason why I picked it. I no longer will. Here, dumbass. Sorry. ESPN is no longer watchable for me. Stuart Scott, he's the
Cyclops.
Yeah, old GoldenEye, or whatever you want to call him.
Took one too many shots in the eye during his fraternity days.
Mm-hmm. He had a tweet 5 days ago, and it said, "True racism is group with majority, economic power, political power, discriminating against others. Blacks/Hispanics can be angry and rude, but not racist."
Screw you, Stuart. That's so fucking.
So Reginald Denny didn't have a brick smashed over his head by racists. They're just rude. I look at stuff like that. I was jumped in high school. I was beat up by 4 black guys, and as I was getting my head stomped in for $1, which I commented on a Facebook post earlier about this. What are 5 adult men going to do with $1? Actually, now I think about it, probably the same thing that I could do with $1. But the thing is, it's and I as I was getting kicked in the head, I was being, honky, cracker, getting kicked. So those people aren't racist, right? Those guys weren't racist. They were just misunderstood. It's like to say a minority cannot be racist in itself is extremely racist, and not only racist but extremely dangerous, because that's somebody in the public eye, and that shit makes me so.
Well, and it's completely wrong, right? It's just another way that's dumbing down our population, because, that's an important thing where, what's his name? Brother Robert Johnson showed a thing that was showing us, he was showing us how school book, right? That there was one of the school, this was from Mr. Drunkman. Brian Dolch was putting in things that, I don't know if it was from his kids or from some other kids, but school books are now changing what the Second Amendment is, right? So when they're teaching about the Second Amendment, they're actually changing what it says, right? They're changing what the First Amendment, what the Second Amendment says, so it can actually kind of slowly, like subversively change it, right? And so this is one of the things about racism, because this isn't the first time that I've heard it, but racism, by definition, is using somebody's race to make a judgment about them. That's racism. That's utilizing race. That's just on the idea of their race and nothing else. So it doesn't matter if it's black on black, black on white, or any other preponderance of colors. It's using somebody's race specifically. And that's what really bothers me. We have a black president, right? There's a black caucus in the Senate or Congress. I should be shot for not doing that. But one of those, right? So it's not like black people don't have any power in this country. So you know what? I think they should be on the same even footing, because my parents immigrated here from Italy. Italians were slaves. They never owned any slaves here. So why am I being held to a different level than other people for the same basic definition of a word, right? Yep. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole.
It was a bunch of scummy Eastern Europeans, so it's, I mean, it's just like every group, every wave. I think the only people that didn't get fucked with were the English and the Scottish. That's it. You can't say that about
Scottish. The English fucked with the Scottish.
Oh yeah, so the English were the only ones, and as far as I know, Stoic, that's not an English name. That does not. Blue blood does not.
Yeah, you're not drinking tea and eating crumpets.
No. I might smoke some tea, but not drink it. When you say Stoic, it doesn't say blue blood following. Every group has had horrible things happen to them. And I think the United States is a very weird microcosm of humanity, because predominantly when you go to an Asian country, it's 99.99% Asians from that country. The same thing in Africa. The same thing for most of Europe. The same thing in like 90% of South America. The Caribbean. The U.S. and Canada, to a fair degree. How many other countries out there where it's like, split down the lines of not just different, ethnic backgrounds, like, in the Balkans, where like, oh, you're Croatian, you're Serbian. Motherfuckers, you look the same.
Or like Irish, Catholics and the Protestants, right? Like, who gives a shit? You're both pasty white people, right? Like,
yeah, but in the U.S., you have people that look 1,000% different from the guy next to them. You have whites, you have blacks, you have Hispanics, you have Asians. You have Native Americans, you have Pacific Islanders, you have, Arabs, everybody, is in America. And it's like, you guys got to get along. Well, guess what? There's been wars fought over the way people look for thousands of years.
Yeah. And last names and all, yeah.
What the hell?
Sorry to jump on you for that.
No, but it's like, I think we're doing pretty good from where we came from even 150 years ago.
Right.
Where humanity has been. I mean, there's species of humanoids that are extinct because of the way they look by Neanderthals, but we got up to 4% of their DNA, so they live. But it's like, I think we're doing pretty good, and to shove it down our throat like, you're wrong, you're bad, you're this or that. As humans, as any species, anybody in the animal kingdom usually looks at something that doesn't look like them and is either scared of them or they want to eat them. So,
yeah, kill it or eat it, right?
Kill it or eat it. And I just I hate racists. I am totally against racists. I've been in interracial relationships. I've been in areas where all of my friends are minorities. I see how the way people are treated. I don't like that. I'm not going to treat people like that. But to sit there and vilify an entire group just because of one thing one person says, and the way it's blown up by the media. I'm tired of it,
Well, so we've danced around it quite a bit, but the basic thing that we've been wanting to talk about Cliven Bundy for a while, because he was all over the place, right? So he had the standout that was being kind of shown as like for libertarians, it was kind of like the us versus the man, and then there are all these different perspectives on what happened. Of course, anybody that's pro-government, so CNN, NBC, or CNBC, like a lot of the liberal, like Big Brother kind of pro-government media was very much saying this guy's a bad guy. Harry Reid, even when it came out that Harry Reid is corrupt and was taking money from a Chinese solar company to try and steal this guy's land, they were still backing Obama and saying this guy is, he's a terrorist and all these other things. Whereas, the kind of the right, the conservative side was saying he's a patriot. He's standing up for the little guy, libertarians. Of course, we love him because he was making the stand. So then, of course, after that whole standoff thing happens, this video of him making these comments come out. And you could see where everybody, all of a sudden, everybody that had been, he's a bad guy, very pro-government, very pro-big brother, all just came out of the rails saying, oh, he's a horrible racist bastard, so nobody should listen to anything he says. So, the media has been caught several times before changing video and changing audio and changing a lot of different things to prove their point, right? So they'll take edited video to make somebody sound like they're saying things they're not really saying. So I found this today. This is on a website called PJTV. This guy named Alfonso Rachel that I'd never seen before. But this clip is called a Bundy Boo Boo or Liberal Media Mendacity. Mendacity? Whatever it is. But basically, so this is a black guy. It's a website that it has a guy that he's a conservative. He's black and he's conservative. Yes, they exist. If you don't think they exist, then you're not paying attention. That's the thing. Again, the media tries to really push us into these different buckets and say, you're black, you must be liberal. You're white, you must be evil and Republican. I'm white and I'm libertarian and I'm not evil on most days. But so this is the thing that I really like. Whenever I see, I like to listen because he's got a really good point of view. But I want to play this because he shows the clip in its entirety and has a little bit of commentary. So again, we'll put this out. This is Alfonso Rachel. You can go check it out. We'll try and link it on the Facebook page. But have a listen to what he has to say, and let's listen to the real video versus what the media put out there.
Now, I can understand that since Cliven Bundy works around a whole bunch of those bovines all the time, he's definitely going to step in it from time to time, if you know what I'm saying. But I don't trust the race-baiting liberal media. And before I let them get back into my head and program me to accuse someone like Cliven Bundy of racism, I'd ask y'all to consider that it may not be the cow patties he's stepping in, but rather a mess of left-wing media donkey pudding all over his Bundy boots. I think it was that propaganda. My friend Bob Parks put this video together showing what Cliven Bundy said and what the left-wing race-baiting media edited to manipulate your perception.
And so what I'm testifying to you, I was in the Watts riot. I seen the beginning fire and I seen that last fire. What I seen is civil disturbance. People are not happy. People are thinking they don't have their freedoms, don't have these things, and they didn't have them. We've progressed quite a bit from that day until now, and we sure don't want to go back. We sure don't want these colored people to have to go back to that point. We sure don't want these Mexican people to go back to that point. And we can make a difference right now by taking care of some of these bureaucracies and do it in a peaceful way. let me talk to you about the Mexicans. But these are just things I know about the Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having a family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom. Now let me talk about the Spanish people. You know, I understand that they come over here against our Constitution and cross our borders. But they're here, and they're people. And I've worked side by side a lot of them. Don't tell me they don't work, and don't tell me they don't pay taxes. And don't tell me they don't have better family structures than most of us white people. When you see those Mexican families, they're together, they're picnicking together, they're spending their time together, and I'll tell you, in my way of thinking, they're awful nice people. And we need to have those people join us and be with us, not come to our party.
Okay, let's look at a few things. Cliven expressed the same sentiments as the Afrocentrics, and it ain't that hard to hear. We don't want to go back to the days of Jim Crow. Cliven clearly expressed those sentiments that he does not want blacks to see those days again. The ones standing in the way of blacks have always been the Democrat Party, and they used the government to do it. Whether it was a sour-faced Democrat like George Wallace standing in the way of schools to keep blacks from going in, or whether it's the fake teeth-gritting smile of modern Democrats that doesn't want the black student to leave the schools they used to try to keep them out of for privatized education.
So much.
After all, the liberal public schools can't keep their black voter stock under control if they're attending private schools. Malcolm X said only a fool would let the enemy educate their children. And Democrats were the expressed enemy of Malcolm X. And he would be absolutely disgusted that the majority of the black community has allowed themselves to be hoodwinked into thinking that the Democrat Party is your friend. Now, I ain't saying Malcolm X was a Republican or that he had love for them, but he specifically loathed Democrats and liberals, and he would not be one today because he has already expressed the very thing he couldn't stand about them. And the liberal does today what they were doing back then that ticked him off. Patronize the black man, pander to him, all the while making black folks complacent as they control us. Malcolm hated that, and he was right to. But let's further consider Cliven Bundy. Cliven expressed a negative attitude towards blacks aborting their children. If Cliven didn't like black folks, he wouldn't care if they were being aborted, and he would encourage it. But because he states the truth to the effect that it is sad that blacks account for the most abortions, he's a racist? I mean, which is more racist? Cliven pointing out the sad reality of the high account of black kids being aborted, or the left-wingers of this country who make sure that blacks feel empowered to kill off their own kids in utero. The left is continuing on with the Democrat Margaret Sanger's stated objective to exterminate the Negro population, as the left is pro-abortion. But they're not racist, and Cliven Bundy is because he points out that this is a tragedy. The only difference today is that the Democrats want to control the Negro population more than exterminate them, because blacks equal votes to Democrats. That's why Lyndon B. Johnson stated his objective to have those N-words voting Democrats for the next 200 years. Yeah, but the Democrats has changed since then. Yeah, looks like LBJ's strategy is working perfectly on you and doesn't seem to be losing steam even after 40 years into his 200-year plan. Lyndon B. Johnson takes the credit for the CRA and the VRA that the Republicans pushed through. The black community falls for the party switch shell game, mesmerized with a bunch of Democrat race baiting to make them lose track of the truth. And voila! LBJ's objective to maintain the black community as a voter stock is as strong as ever, more than 40 years later. And I'm the brainwashed sellout. Cliven expressed his dismay about blacks living in government housing. True, it's not as hard as living in a shack in shackles on a plantation waiting to get some grits and some picnics for your labor. But nowadays, those on government housings are shackled to a mailbox waiting for the 1st and the 15th. And this arrests their development. It deteriorates self-worth and, of course, makes them ignore the value of others. That's why there's so much crime and abortions in the black community, as well as moms with 5 or more kids with different deadbeat daddies. The liberals insist on government provision. These provisions make you idle. And idle hands truly are the devil's playground. And where there's Democrats and the most government provisions, there's the places with the most idle hands. And there you will find many blacks in jail, on drugs, in gangs, etc. So Cliven wasn't giving a nod to slavery. He was shaking his head that too many American blacks have traded one set of shackles for another to their own peril. And the fact that the state is trying to fit us all with shackles is in very plain sight. Anyway, as I listened to the video, the one the liberal media didn't put out there, I didn't detect that deep-seated hatred for Mexicans that Cliven Bundy is supposed to have neither. It's sad that so many Hispanics vote for the Democrat Party who institute policies that are in conflict with many Hispanics concerning life, family, marriage, faith, and so on. But all Democrats had to do was accuse Republicans of racism, and the Hispanic vote became theirs. And the brilliant plan of the establishment Republicans is to pander to Hispanics for their votes. I hope Republicans will someday hear me after me saying this for so many years. If you're gonna pander for votes, you might as well be a Democrat. We will not be a better country for pandering to people for their votes. 2, it's so painfully obvious that the most effective weapon the Democrats have against Republicans is the race issue. Republicans, the racism that America is still butthurting over and will not let go of is the racism that is burned and scarred into the culture that is infamous the world over, the racism that was instituted by the Democrat Party for over 140 years. The Republicans went to war against the Democrats to end slavery in the 1860s, and the Republicans defeated Democrats and institutionalized racism in the 1960s. The Republicans fought the Democrat KKK, their cross burnings and their lynchings, and stopped them. But America is still to this very day bitter over racism, the racism instituted by the Democrat Party. But Democrats have taken the issue they're responsible for and now use it to manipulate people and get them to hate you. Republicans whine about the race card being used against them, yet don't seem to grasp how effective the race baiting strategy is and totally take for granted that this is the Democrats' main weapon. If it is so easy to manipulate people with race baiting, you would think that Republicans would concentrate on exposing the Democrats for the manipulating race baiters they are, who are responsible for all the racism America is bitter over, and totally kneecap them, instead of doing some fake move to pander to Hispanics, which is a total insult to them. It is an insult to immigrants who come here legally to make this country the beautiful and colorful nation it is. And 2, by doing this, it grows government and diminishes the free spirit that people want to come to America for. America is the best thing that ever happened to immigration. But if you handle immigration liberally, it will be wasted away. But if you handle it conservatively, our country will better sustain for others to make a legal, responsible migration here. That's what being a conservative is about, the conservation, so as to maintain, protect, and keep for prolonged enjoyment. I'm Alfonso Rachel for Zone Nation, and Cliven Bundy is just another example of how liberals will use race baiting to sucker people into giving more power to the state.
So that's awesome. That's Alfonso Rachel again. You can get that on PJTV. I think you can see the URL at the top there. Again, it's called Zone Nation. I love that guy so much. I'm going to go follow him on Facebook for my personal account. That means I really like somebody. If I follow you for my personal account, that means you've made it, son. But he's speaking about the difference between Democrats and Republicans, right? So, and I was talking about how you can tell the difference between what side of a bias the media is on when you see how they write about it. So, of course, Huffington Post, about as liberal as it gets, I saw this in my feed. Obama teaches us all a lesson about Cliven Bundy, right? So, King Obama. And this is a big talking point that I wanted to get in, is just how much the left-sided media, they rally and do everything they can to protect liberalism. Any liberal politician, they do everything they can to protect them, no matter how bad they step on it, right? So here's this thing on the Huffington Post, and God, I hate the Huffington Post. If, what's her name, Mariana Huffington got hit by a train tomorrow, I would throw a party. But President Barack Obama taught everyone a lesson about racist Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy. Okay, so remember, we just watched the clip of what he actually said versus what the media said he said. Remember, they cut out the beginning where he kind of explained what he was about to say, and they cut out the end where he actually said how much he loves Hispanics, right? During the 2014 White House Correspondents' Dinner, Obama was touting the success of Olympic snowboarder Jamie Anderson, who was in attendance at the dinner, saying he hadn't seen someone pull a 180 that fast until Rand Paul disinvited that Nevada rancher from his dinner. As a general rule, things don't end well if the sentence starts with, "Let me tell you something about the Negro," Obama said. "You don't really need to know the rest of it, just a tip for you." Now, this is what really bothers me about this, because, like, all right, so I'm from Texas. My family is from the South, the deep South, like South Carolina, Georgia, you know, I've got a lot of family that's from there, Florida, Texas. Some people just have colloquialisms, right? Like, that's the way some people were raised, and that's not a bad, like, they're not saying that as a derogatory term, right? Sometimes that's just the way that people were raised as a derogatory term. Yes, they should, I guess, get with the times and be a little bit nicer and use the term, whatever term it's going to be this day, because it changes quite a bit, you know, and I'm not even going to get into that. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he uses the term Negro when he's talking affectionately about all these different things, the guy lives on a ranch out in the middle of Nevada. Like, sorry, he's not watching American Idol and going and picking up the latest jeans at the Gap. Like, the guy is kind of set in his ways. He's an 80-year-old man, lives out in the desert with a bunch of cows, right? So if you actually listen to his message, you see that he's not being a racist bigot, right? He's actually being kind of a nice guy that's talking about these things. But if you follow the media and you only look at what you're being force-fed, like, they're editing it, they're taking out all the true parts of his statement, and they're only saying what they want to say. And when you take it out of context, yes, he does look like a racist old man. But that takes us back into the further, like these other things that are going on right now with, what's his name, the Clippers owner, and Sterling, right? And that actually, so that created, so there was a firestorm on the Vets on Media page with you, Jay, and some other people today because of that. But it's the same thing. Like, the guy was about to be honored by the NAACP for all the things that he's done, right? So this whole bag gets him on video saying a bunch of things that weren't good. But again, if you've listened to the entire thing, and I couldn't find a clip of the entire thing anywhere, but he's not being racist, right? He's just, the guy was about to be honored by the NAACP. He wasn't saying, "I don't like black people." He wasn't using derogatory terms. From what I've heard, he said, "Please don't bring black people to the games with you." But you know what? That's his own opinion. That's his own, like, that's just the way he lives his life. Whatever happened to the idea that we were allowed to have our own opinions? Like, the guy owns a basketball team. He was going to be honored by the NAACP because of all the good things he's done for the black community. So we all know the movie star that you see in, like, Us Weekly and on, you know, TMZ and whatever, you know, on their friendly publicist-related stuff versus the, you know, Mel Gibson, you know, anti-Semitic rants when he's drunk on tequila in Malibu.
Yeah. Mel Gibson definitely racist.
Yeah, but well, I've
heard those.
But they're two different people, right? So we understand, like, people have a public persona and a private persona. Whatever happened to this inability? Like, why aren't we allowed to have our own viewpoints anymore? So, like, Bundy kind of got screwed here because he was just using a term that people automatically they think you're racist, but he was using it affectionately because that's just the way the old man was raised.
Yeah.
Sterling,
Sterling is 82, and I guess he's had I don't know. What I heard was he had a checkered past with lawsuits, with housing for minorities in the LA area. I guess he's one of the biggest landowners in LA, and I guess he's settled. Which, before I get into that point, you're talking about two 80-plus-year-old men.
right?
I know my grandmother was the farthest thing from a racist woman. Probably the sweetest lady in the world, God bless her soul. I never heard her swear. I never, say a bad thing. Just a sweetheart. And she'd say colored people all the time. She just, and that was the time, that was the time period she grew up in. My grandmother was the closest thing to a saint, from besides being cantonized. And she said colored people. She didn't understand interracial marriages. She's like, I don't get. She goes, if two people that are different colors, have kids, then what happens? Is going to run out of black people and white people and Asian people. She just didn't.
Have you seen that South Park?
Yeah, no.
Backs from the Future?
Mm-mm.
All right. So I know I've said it before. I firmly believe if everybody watched South Park, the world would be a better place. Because they make fun of everybody equally, right? That's the way it's got to be. You can't not touch people. Everybody needs to make fun of. If you can't have a sense of humor about yourself, then you need to die. Because you're not doing anybody any good. Every once in a while, you need to be able to laugh at yourself. The best comedians are self-deprecating, right? The best comedians that are out there make fun of themselves first, right? There's something to that. You got to be able to laugh at yourself. The South Park one, the Goobacks from the Future.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's this idea that, these people from the future are coming back to the past because there's no jobs in the future. So they're coming back to the past to make money, and they're putting it in an interest-bearing account so their offspring is rich. But the whole idea is they're bald and they're like kind of light black, gray, brownish. And this idea is that everybody in the world intermingled and had kids together so much, there was no more white, black, brown, nothing more. And the language was this language nobody could understand because every language mixed together into one. And that was the whole idea. It was they took our jobs, right? It was making fun of Hispanics because they had like the writer.
That's what popped into my head. So I should, if my grandma was still alive, I'd just let her watch that episode. I'm like, here's your answer, Grandma. But everybody, I think every 20 years, there's certain things you're allowed to say and things you can't say. I just think there's some people that just, they don't go with the times of like what's the proper thing to say, what's the PC thing to say. I mean, I don't know how many 80-year-olds you're going to find out of any race or gender or national origin that are going to be PC, other than the ones that are on Capitol Hill.
Right.
But, and that's
that's just because they're publicists. Guarantee you, most of those Democratic politicians are probably going back to the House and dropping N-bombs every 5 seconds.
Oh, all of them are. And well, just one thing that a gentleman that clip that we saw, he brought up a good point, which I was going to say that LBJ comment that he made about voting for the next 200 years, that popped up into my head, and then he showed a clip of that. But what's the guy's name? He's running for governor of Wisconsin. Wisconsin State Representative Brett Hulsey, Hulsey, a Democratic candidate for governor, plans to blitz the state's Republican convention this weekend with KKK hoods he refers to as Republican Party hats. So he's going to go to the state Republican convention with a bunch of KKK hoods and pass them out as being Republican hats. Dumbass didn't even realize that the KKK was basically a branch of Southern Democrats right after the Civil War, and it's like, you really...
They wrote the Jim Crow laws, right? That's the thing. They wrote the Jim Crow laws, and that's what kills me, right? So like they always say about war, the victor writes the history, right? Whoever wins writes the history. That seems to be what's going on right now, is they're trying to change history and make it seem like this is the way it's been, when in reality the most racist parts of our history come from the Democratic Party, and people have been lulled into this false sense of security because they're being lied to by the media, who you're supposed to trust as your source of news and the reality about the world. But the Democrats now control our public school system, higher education, we know, and the media, right? So you get those three things where people get all of their news and information unless they're smart enough to read a book. God forbid you read a book on your own. But that's the problem, is that these people, it's the fast food of information, right? That's all it is fast food. I go through the drive-thru, sit my fat ass on the couch, and watch CNN, right? And that's it. That's fast food of information. No nutritional value, but a lot of fluff, right? Enough filler to keep me satiated.
I'm surprised they don't have the racist simulator on CNN now, because they had that damn plane simulator for fucking going for weeks because of that Malaysian flight. I'm surprised they don't have a simulator. And now if you go into this one, this is where you get hit with a whip. Now if you go to this one, you get dirty looks at a store. Just all the simulating all the effects of racism. I'm surprised CNN hasn't done that yet, because they sure know how to beat a story to death.
Yeah, I know. I have a couple offices around Los Angeles and one in San Diego now, and I'm going back and forth. One of my offices in the Valencia area, we have like flat screen TVs throughout the waiting room. So whenever I'd come out to the waiting room, that's where we have our coffee machine, and that's where I would come, get our clients. I would see it, and that was it for like 2 weeks straight. It was nothing. I swear, 24 hours a day. CNN was just talking about that goddamn plane. And it got to the point where I went, isn't there anything else happening in the world right now? Can you just show me a graph of the stock market just for a second? Like, can something happen somewhere else just so that people get off this damn plane? But it's crazy because all the other news stations had news going on, but CNN just went, we're all in, man. We're just going to cover this thing. But that's the problem. Like, what's the Man of Constant Sorrow? Oh, brother, where art thou, right? So as a marketing guy that loves advertising and the way advertising happens, that I'm a dapper damn man, damn it. You remember that line from the movie where they talk about the hair gel? I don't want fop. I'm a dapper damn man, damn it. People get that way with everything in life, and it's funny. I listened to Warren Buffett's his yearly speak to his shareholders, right? I listened to the things that he said. And it's funny because I'm writing a book called The Pact right now that's about what happens if America gets invaded. So Warren Buffett is very heavy in Coke stocks, right? Not doing lines of Coke off a Burger King bathroom, Joe, but Coca-Cola.
You don't get that rich being on the straight and narrow.
I'm sure Warren Buffett has some cocaine and stripper nights, though. He's got too much money not to. But he was saying, I invest very heavily in Coca-Cola and like blue chips. He was talking about blue chips. There's a lot of people out there, even the mainstream media. They try to talk about doom and gloom, right? So I'm a financial advisor, right? So I passed my Series 6 and 63. I'm now that's what I do. I'm a financial advisor. We talked about it on the last show. So yeah, I passed. Awesome. Thank God, because man, I would have shot myself if I had. But
by the way, buddy.
Thanks. that was driving me insane. That's where the fat turkey neck came from. A lot of cheeseburgers, man. That's all I was doing was studying. I dropped off the face of the planet. But Warren Buffett, a lot of people, the media talks about doom and gloom. So if you ask anybody, what do you think's going on with the stock market? They generally think it's doing bad, right? Or they think it's about to fail, or it's about to go off the cliff, or something bad's about to happen. There's this thing called the ICA guide that I show my clients. It shows the history of the stock market from the inception of the S&P 500. Mm-hmm. So it's about 70 or 80 years of history. It's always been on an upward trend. Right, and it's doing very well. We've actually had record-breaking quarters every quarter for the last year or so. It's just off the charts right now. But because the media, number one, doesn't know shit about finance, and number two, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Their whole idea is to sell bad doom and gloom. They make everybody think that the stock market is about to tumble, when in reality, it is off the charts. You could just throw a dart at the stock market these days, well, mutual funds, because stocks are a little bit more risky, so mutual fund, you can just randomly pick a mutual fund and be making money this year because they're doing so well. We have some that we have a mutual fund that's making 60% return right now. That's insane. But people generally think it's bad. And so Warren Buffett, during his thing to shareholders, he was talking about a lot of the blue chips that he owns a lot of. Coca-Cola is one. And he was saying, even if the worst happens, he quite a few times he repeated, America, it's good to bet on America right now. And of all the stuff that's going on in the world, America is the best place to bet. And this is Warren Buffett, who, if you're going to listen to anybody about financial advice, he's the guy you should probably listen to. He's done pretty good. Relatively good track record, right? But he was saying, even if America gets invaded tomorrow and Russians jump out of helicopters and come down and, invade the country, they're still going to want to drink Coke. They're just going to order it with an accent, right? And so that's a big, big thing that he was talking about is this, just the way that it works. But that's the thing about people is people get kind of into this, I'm a dapper damn man, damn it, whether it be Coca-Cola or NBC or Fox or CNN or whatever it may be. And that's why I really try to use every bit of my being to convince people to not just watch one news network. Because if you're just watching one news network, I mean, it's like being married to the world's worst wife, right? You're only getting your information from one place. It's like only reading one book your entire life. You have to understand it's for-profit media. All of our media is for-profit media. Now, I'm not saying state-controlled communism news like China and Russia is a good idea. But when you have for-profit media, where do you think these newscasters, who get paid tens of millions of dollars, by the way, the same Rachel Maddow slut bitch whore that is out there talking about, sorry, I just had to throw that one in there, Joe, but the same one that's talking about like inequality of income and, oh my God, the disparity, how can this CEO possibly get paid $1.3 million when he's got other employees that are making $30,000? She doesn't tell you she's making $10 million a year. But how does she make $10 million a year? Advertising. So you have to understand that. Every news channel you're watching, watch the ads, watch the commercials that play. Those people are paying the editor's salary. They're paying Rachel Maddow's salary. They're paying the guy that runs the camera's salary. So they're going to keep those people happy. So if you have a very liberal publication, let's just say MSNBC, they're going to attract liberal advertisers, and they're going to toe that line and make those advertisers happy. And so it doesn't really, they don't give you true unbiased media. They're going to show you the version of the media that they think will make their advertisers happy. Like at least communist China, Russia TV, they're going to give you the truth as long as it makes the government look good, right? That's still not 100% true. So there really isn't, even Alex Jones, I love Alex Jones to death, but he's trying to sell his own stuff now. And he, it's in his benefit for us to all be a little bit afraid. So that was a really long tangent to basically just say, get your stuff from different sources, man. Don't just watch.
I like the fact that anybody can be news. No, we're news right now for some people. There's somebody out there like, who the fuck is Clive Bundy?
Isn't that scary?
Yeah, I mean, you're dressed for the part, though. But actually, I got something in a second here since we're going to be. You look at I like the Young Turks in the sense that they're kind of. I still feel like they're news renegades. They're biased, of course. They have their own opinions, but I just like the fact that it's an upstart. Vice is another one. I love the stuff Vice does. That's another news outlet. Some of these other smaller, internet-based ones that have made it one form or another on television. I still have hope and I have faith in media because that's what I want to get into. So I love it. I love the fact that there's still a small little CH of a chance that we could have honest media in the future.
CH of a chance?
I give it a CH of a chance.
There are people out there that aren't in the Army that probably have no idea what you're talking about. I don't think we have to repeat it, but
be creative. Runt rare. But there's still a small chance that I think that somebody, there's nobody that's ever going to take the big box fast food media companies out there, but which goes to a point. You look at the stuff Clive Bundy has been called. You look at the stuff Don Sterling has been called. Whether it's warranted or not, justifiable or not, they're getting beat up, and they're being ostracized for what they think, what they believe in, whether it's racist or not. That's your own opinion. We report, you decide. may have been taken. I don't know. But you look at Al Sharpton, for example.
God, I hate that guy.
What Jaime, Greek Ho, Kikes, you name it. He started a riot,
Oh, but he's not racist. He's not racist because he's black, so he can't be racist, right?
He's rude. But look, look at all the stuff he has said. Fat Al Sharpton, is still Al Sharpton. I don't care if he got the lap band or not. He said some very racist stuff against Asians, against conservative blacks, against homosexuals, against
That's the thing that kills me is how rapidly they...
Political Nation, prime time. What is it? 5 p.m. is a show on the East.
I can't watch anything with that guy.
I think I do just because then I go to the what is it, Morton Downey Jr. show, and I see Fat Al Sharpton getting tipped over in a chair, and I'm like, haha. That's what but I look at it. It's like, how the hell is somebody now? If I said called people a bunch of Greek homos and kikes and gooks and everything else. And that's some of the stuff. I'm not making this stuff up. That is what he said. While he goes, while our people were inventing mathematics, the Greeks were still homos in caves.
Wait, black people?
Yeah, that's what he said.
The Arabs invented mathematics.
Arabs are and that's just like, you can't even pat the right race on the back who invented mathematics.
Because that's the problem. You correct him and you're racist.
Well, and apparently, and he Crown Heights riots in New York, and I think the Bronx section of Crown Heights section of the Bronx, he insinuated a riot where two Jewish shop owners were killed, and well, how did he get rewarded? He didn't get ostracized. He didn't get his team taken away. He wasn't called a crazy, terrorist in Nevada. He got his own primetime show on the largest liberal news outlet in the country. If that isn't a fucking shame, I don't know what is, and it's just disgusting. That right there. I want to sleep with Rachel Maddow. I want to choke the hell out of Al Sharpton.
You need a couple extra hands though. That neck gets some chicken.
I'm just say, don't ever say you got a turkey neck. Look at that guy. That guy's got more loose skin. Ugh, it's just gross.
That picture of him in the Bosnian business suit where he's got that big old purple tracksuit just walking out, Jerry curl and everything.
Bosnian.
Dude, come on, man.
That's who people listen to. He's a spokesperson, and the fact that he's a civil rights leader and a minister, and a spokesperson for not just a select race, but also a political affiliate. That's who you listen to. We're screwed. Somewhere right now, your Texas homeboy LBJ is rolling over in his grave right now. I'm like, I win.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem, and that people will put him on. Stop making stupid people famous, right? Stop making stupid people famous. But that's the unfortunate thing. Part of me wants to believe somebody put him on there just because they knew he was going to become a train wreck, and unfortunately people listen to him. That's the scary thing, is that this guy he has no idea what he's doing or what he's talking about, and he's doing nothing but insinuating hatred, right? And you can't say that's not racist because he uses race as a bait, right? He's a race baiter. He's a race-baiting racist. It's one of the worst things you can possibly do.
Don Imus gets kicked off the air, but that's the guy who took over, for him. That's the guy that's like, freaking, microphone suitcase man. Fucking
microphone suitcase? That was the guy. He was the one talking about the basketball players, right?
Don Imus was the one that made a comment. Who's Don Imus? Don Imus is a radio DJ and a comedic figure. He's not a
But he just said something about their nappy hair, right? He didn't go out and drop any N-bombs or like.
Called them nappy-headed hoes, which.
Oh, okay, that's a little different. I thought he just said, "Look at those nappy-headed girls." Or something.
Look, he had a morning show. He was a shock jock. He was like one of the first. He was Howard Stern before Howard Stern. You expect somebody like that to say something like that, just like you expect the old 82-year-old rancher in Nevada to say, colored people or Negro. You expect certain people to say certain things, and he got fired for that. But then you have somebody like freaking Al Sharpton. Oh, We're outraged, MSNBC. We are totally outraged. I can't believe one of your employees said that. Well, listen, we'll fire him and we'll give you a job. I love you, MSNBC. I love you. I love you. I love you. It's just like the South Park episode with the Nagger episode. You know, that one where Jesse Jackson at the end, say you're sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Show me. Pulled his pants down. Kiss my ass. Apologize. Apologize.
Yeah.
Kiss it. Apologize. You apologize by kissing ass. And I like Jesse Jackson a lot more than I like Al Sharpton. You know, I mean, I think I could have a beer with Jesse Jackson, not his son, but maybe him.
Jesse Jackson's a Freemason.
I don't mind Jesse Jackson, especially with that. Guys, I don't want you to choke me out with the secret handshake.
I don't know. That's the weird thing. So, like, you got Farrakhan, you got Martin Luther King, right? Like, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, Martin Luther King. The thing that scares me is, are these guys, Malcolm X was, and Martin Luther King were very much, I don't want to say idolized, but they were remembered for the movements they started.
Yep.
Are Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson going to be remembered? Are they going to be held in that high regard?
No.
These guys have been dropping the ball. They marched with him. You know, and the way they bastardized his message of everyone should be equal. I don't think Martin Luther King would have liked the race baiting that's going on right now, especially from white media, right? White media calling white. It's just, I think the way that the liberal media uses race baiting is more racist than dropping an M-bomb on national television. I think that's what's racist, because it's pretending that they don't see it. It's pretending that we're so smart, we're the media, we know better than you. Here we can pull the wool over your eyes and make you do what we want by dropping a couple things in there.
When I see stuff like that by MSNBC, let's just say those guys, for example, it's like, you dumb minorities, you're not smart enough to know what we're doing. We're gonna make you. We're gonna throw you a bone. We're gonna make you feel like we care about you. It's just like, if that's not an arrogance and a suppression in and of itself, I don't know what is. I mean, we traded in chains for shitty laws, and now for shitty laws, real smooth talking. That's it. Product placement and smooth talking. That's basically what the modern racist is.
Well, and that seems to be the whole point that Cliven Bundy had when you listen to the whole thing, right? He's saying that, yeah, and if you listen to the whole thing, he's saying, yes, slavery was bad. They were treated horribly, but the way that the government is doing it today is even worse, right? That's all he said. That's all he said, is that there is another form of slavery that's being enacted, and it's in the form of the United States government with food stamps and welfare and everything. Every bit of science has proven welfare in its current state does not work. It is not working. It subjugates people. It makes people become dependent on handouts and gives them no tools to become productive members of today's society and earn their own money. It gets generations upon generations upon generations of people who just subsist off of this handout from the government and can never find a way out. Unfortunately, it happens. I grew up in the South. It happens all over the South. It's a big, big thing, and it's proven not to work. And he's saying it, but because he said Negro, all of a sudden he's a racist bastard when he's proving a very valid point. Yeah. Now, he used that pick and con thing. Okay, you can't use those terms in the same place. But again, 80-year-old man that lives with a bunch of cows in the desert in the middle of Nevada. Can you really fault him on his ability to deliver his message?
Listen, no, really. I don't want to be in Nevada with a bunch of cows. I mean, if that's the case, that means I got really drunk at the wrong casino in Vegas, and I woke up like, whoa, hey, ladies.
Yeah, I don't even want to be in Reno. There's only one place in Nevada I want to be, and it's only Vegas. And I don't even like Vegas that much because I'm not a big gambler. I like
Last time I went to Vegas, I had my fill forever. Forever. I did everything. I was the Hangover by myself.
I've got to go to a convention in Vegas in June. In late June, I'll be there for a week. Tom Segura has a great thing. Like, I've got one of his stand-ups. I love Tom Segura, the comedian. He's got this thing where he's talking about, I just spent 2 weeks in Vegas, and people start applauding. He's like, no, that is a bad idea. The longest you need in Vegas is 48 hours, and after that 48 hours, you get your shit, and you get the fuck out.
Yeah, this dumb guy right here spent 9 days at a timeshare on the Strip.
Oh, I had a friend,
I couldn't
one
keep
of my best friends.
I gave up on food. The last piece of food I tried to eat was sushi and then a Pink's hot dog. And I'm like, I'm going strictly liquid diet here. And
That's what he says. Being in Vegas for that long is like for 2 weeks saying every day, I want to have some pizza and some beer and some ice cream and some drugs. And that's it. And that's just, no. I had a very good friend of mine, a fraternity brother, had his bachelor party in Vegas. His best man was dating some travel agent, and she got them like the penthouse at the MGM Grand, like the place where boxers stay before their fight, right? Like big player, 10-room, like whole 9 yards. Got it for him. And so like 24 of my friends went down there, and he stayed there for a week and a half. But nobody else could do that. He owns a couple of his own businesses. He's doing pretty well. Everybody else has jobs. So they would go in, like, switch hit, and they would go in for 2 or 3 days at a time and then come back out, and there was, like, this constant churning of who was there at what time with him. He was the only one there for 2.5 weeks, or for a week and a half. One of our really closest friends was there with him at the end of that week and a half. He spent, like, the last 5 days with him, and he said on day, like, 7 or 8, they got a call from the casino floor, like, you guys need to come get this guy. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. He had gone down to the casino wearing nothing but a bathrobe and slippers and vomited on the craps table. And that's when they got him there like, you're grounded. You're not allowed to leave the room for 24 hours. You need to eat, you need to shower, and you need to get some like actual something besides vodka in your system.
Yeah, I got hooked up, not hooked up with them. I didn't hook up with them, but I got linked up with the heir to Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
By chance, and this little eccentric millionaire with his little blonde play friend was my tour guide in Vegas for a while. One night drinking with them, like I'm drinking with everything I hate right now. You know, a little young heir to the throne that has no value of anything, and his little ditzy blonde friend.
Were they paying?
She was fun, you know. There's more than money when it comes to paying. Like, hey, why don't you come over to our place? I'm like, I got this crazy little timeshare. You ain't coming over to my place. Oh, come over to my place. Like, I don't know how many floors up at this. I don't even know the name of it. I'm like, wow, this is what the city looks like from this view. Like, hell's yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet from up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was nice. A view I could never get again, you know, without washing the windows. But yeah, it's just Vegas. Too much. 2 days, 3 days, just good. But
well, and that, in that movie, The Hangover, you talked about The Hangover. That's one of my favorite lines. It's the only line I really remember from that movie, besides retard. Yeah, that one. Okay, but the other one was just at the beginning. Or at the end of the first one of the bellhop just goes, some people just can't handle Vegas. And that's it. Like, some people just can't. I spent a weekend in Dubai. Dubai is Vegas of the Middle East. It really is. And it's just the same way. Like, you meet some people that just fall off. They just lose their shit, man. Just lose lose everything. And that's just the way it is. Some people just can't handle themselves. That's, like the Army says, give you enough rope to hang yourself with it.
Yep.
That's Vegas, right? Like, some freedom ain't for everybody. Like, some people just cannot handle that much freedom, man, where you can get, just like it is. If somebody asks you, do you want beer and pizza and ice cream and drugs all day, every day for 2 weeks? And some people just go, fuck, yes, I do.
As soon as I landed, I'm like, okay, vodka and whiskey sounds great, and that's what my diet was, and tequila. Man, I fell in love with tequila there. But seeing as how we're talking about the desert, we don't have a whole lot of time left. It was a nice little segue into our little conspiracy, big conspiracy of the week, which would be a nice last topic. You know, we talked about race, we talked about lesbians, we talked about children, and Vegas. Now let's leave you with something educational, which the conspiracy you wanted to bring up because man, I love this shit.
I love this one. I'm a big Area 51 fan, and like I just like conspiracy theories. I listen to them all, right? Because it's the same way with food. Like you got to try everything because you never know what's going to be your next favorite thing, right? Conspiracy theories, I think, are like a nice fine wine, right? You got to try it all or something like that. So Area 51 has been like, it's just ripe with conspiracy theory stuff. I actually heard this. I heard about this book. I listen to NPR from time to time. Again, you got to listen to some Fox News. You got to listen to some NPR. You got to listen to some Alex Jones to balance it out. I listen to the Ron Paul podcast, and I listen to a little bit of everything. But I heard this on NPR, and it's this woman that wrote this book last year, and the book is called Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base, right? So she writes about a lot of stuff. Of course, the Secret City. She writes about a lot of different things. There's some that, basically everybody's heard about Area 51. They have, they have aliens. She writes about the atomic bombs that they did there. She writes about the rockets that they've shot, the nukes that they shot up into space from Area 51. That's some scary stuff. She writes about Operation Oxcart, Operation Blue Bomb. But she writes about something else that I had never heard about, which was the first time I had ever heard about this, and I think this is one of the big things that kind of made her book, it gave her a lot of publicity. So if you didn't hear about this main part about her book that really interested me was this idea that this Area 51, the Roswell, New Mexico crash, was all a conspiracy from the Soviets, right? Because remember, we were in the Cold War at this time, or this was pre-Cold War, but it was this thing by the Soviets to basically take our mind off of the Soviets, right? The idea was to create this like War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells frenzy throughout America, so we couldn't really focus on anything else. Remember when H.G. Wells actually had a radio program and he did War of the Worlds for the first time, people were freaked out, right? Like the radio was the only place you got your news. He didn't say this is a show or this is a joke. People were losing their minds. People thought the world was being invaded by aliens, right? So the idea was that the Soviets were going to use this, and they actually created. So the Soviets created, this is in her book, a human experimentation program to create child-sized aviators that would look like what they thought aliens looked like, right? So this is the idea, is that the Russians have come out and said that they worked on this. They said it was basically kind of like Joseph Mengele when he worked at Auschwitz. This idea is that he left Germany and immigrated to Russia, and then they actually hired Mengele to do this, start this human experimentation program, make humans that look like aliens that were actually child-sized humans with big heads that were just genetically modified to look like that, and have them fly this thing that wasn't really any kind of crazy technology, but just actually an airplane that, like, we've seen videos of people working on for a very long time, and send it over here to crash at what they knew was already a top secret base in Area 51, and then create this like havoc in the United States. And so that's, I don't know, the rest of the book talks about a lot of the other stuff. They talk about the secret city that's there. They talk about why Area 51 is really classified, and some other things that if you're like me and you listen to a lot of conspiracy theories, then you've heard most of it before. But that was the first time that I really heard about this. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So again, the book is called Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base by Annie Jacobsen. And again, that's just, I don't know, I thought that was pretty interesting. It was a rub to like probably the first conspiracy theory, right? Like that's Area 51 is the one that everybody's heard of, but I had never heard that. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I never heard that either, and I'm big into that stuff. And I've just before the show I said I've been trying to watch Ancient Aliens, on Amazon Prime. Sponsor, come on.
Have you ever watched Ancient Aliens Debunked?
No, don't ruin it.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Don't watch it. Fuck that guy.
Who, the Greek guy? You know who was on there recently? Graham Hancock was on an episode I just watched the other day. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I haven't watched Ancient Aliens. I love it. I haven't watched it in probably 2 years.
Yeah, I'm watching season 4. That weird Greek dude. It's like with the hair. He was in he was on I forgot where he was. He was showing some ruins, and I've just looked at these combat boots and everything. I'm like, you dumbass! Did your producer tell you to untie your boots? Because I didn't know you didn't get to that damn site with your boots untied like that, you dumbass. You don't look rustic. You look like a fucking idiot with your boots untied and your hair like that. I wanted to smack the hell out of him. But some of the stuff, some of the theories they were talking about Roswell, and they were talking about what was the space shuttle flight where
Challenger.
Huh?
The Challenger?
No, the one that came back. There was one where they were emptying cargo. Something was in the cargo hold they were releasing, maybe something for a telescope, and you could see all these, like, I say UFOs because a UFO is an unidentified flying object. So UFOs, now if I call it a saucer, I don't know, I could be crazy, but you see these things like darting back and forth, like you see where stars were.
Yep.
Stationed, and then you see like a couple of these things like zipping around. NASA said it was just ice. There's no footage from this, supposedly from this from the shuttle flight that it got destroyed or it was damaged in some way. Well, there's amateur footage showing, there's these amateurs that like lock onto like the spacecraft and see what they're doing and fun little nerd shit. It's like ham radios for people with fucking telescopes.
Yeah.
You could see these things darting around, and it's just like, I wonder. I just wonder. I really wonder. And another episode I watched it was about that Die Glock, the Nazi bell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, Nazi technology. Have you heard about the secret Antarctica base?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy little.
We're gonna have to get into that one. I had a very long conversation at dinner last night with someone about, because my grandpa was a spy hunter. My grandpa was Army intelligence. He hunted Nazi war criminals and spies, right? So all over South America and Eastern Europe. And somebody at dinner asked me last night, like, have you ever heard that? Do you think Hitler really got away? And I just went off. I was like, how many blonde people have you seen from South America? Don't you realize there's towns like there's this great 2-hour special that I saw on the Discovery Channel that basically traced his supposed route, and they found the priest that admitted to helping ferry like rat line German war criminals out of Germany and ended onto ships and down to South America. They found all the people that admitted it. They found all the places they did it, and they proved that Hitler's skull isn't Hitler's skull. So yeah, he got away.
Yeah, we should next week we got to talk about Nazi technology, because the Nazi bell, the Die Glock, supposedly it was a time machine. Something very similar to that crashed right around where I live, south of Pittsburgh now, back in the 60s or 70s, I believe. Well, the scientists that invented this, disappeared with this Nazi bell, and then supposedly something appeared, in the woods, crashed in southwestern Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna do some research on that so I could show up with some ammo. But
there's some crazy stuff there, man.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. I tell you what, Roswell is crazy. I want to go there one day. I just want to go there. I want to go to one of those hokey little truck stop places so I could get the alien foam hand and just be total fucking Griswold. I want to go out there.
The swastika is actually just a cross. It's a good luck amulet.
Yeah,
right?
It's a Buddhist. It's a Buddhist.
Yeah. You go back to Taiwan, a lot of Buddhist shrines have the swastika in the top because they don't care about your political correctness. They're gonna. They had it before he had it.
Yeah.
But it really is amazing. I was just listening to a Whence Came You podcast by Brother Robert Johnson today, where he's talking about that. He's talking about the history of different religious symbolism, and talks about there's actually like 300 different forms of the cross out there. One of them is the swastika, right? It's just another form of a cross. They've been used throughout history. They were used before Christianity. The cross is not... Christianity didn't develop the cross. Sorry if anybody listening that just shatters your world. They didn't develop it. It was around long before Christianity. There's pre-Christ Christianity. Sorry again to burst your bubble. The rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But yeah, there's actually a secret society that I've been trying to join for a while, but they're very hard to join. some of the other ones are easy. This is one of those ones where like they only take applicants for like a week out of every year, and it's like just crazy stuff. But it started in Germany, and it's one of the big things. Like when you talk to them, every time you talk to them, they're like, "We're not Nazis. We're not Nazis. We're not Nazis. We're not Nazis," because like Hitler was into a lot of very esoteric shit. So if you actually delve into like Hitler and their stuff, the SS, like a lot of their stuff is very like secret society, esoteric religion driven. That's why he took the swastika as a symbol, because he believed it had power. That idea of he spent his entire life searching for the what do you call it? The sword, the spear, the tip of the spear that Jesus was speared with. That's like a big esoteric relic. They believe that can give like ultimate power to whoever wields it. He was searching for the chalice, the actual Ark of the Covenant. That Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, that's real. Hitler was searching for that shit his entire life.
Yep.
Right? And so there's a lot of spooky stuff. They have a lot of other technology that's out there that they were using what they like ancient religious texts to try and develop this technology that like you read like the Mahabharata, the ancient Indian and Hindu texts, where they talk about using nuclear weapons and nuclear technology. He was trying to recreate that stuff. And there are certain people that say if the war had lasted another month, he would have had it and he would have destroyed us. Right? So
crazy stuff. And his longest lasting legacy is the fucking Volkswagen Rabbit.
Hey, that's a nice truck, or that's a nice car, man.
Yeah, I got a Volkswagen, so I can't complain. I mean, at least there's one little bit of technology that I can enjoy from that freaking guy that ruined the square mustache for everybody.
Yeah, but hey, Volkswagen, that's if you think you're a very politically correct person, just understand you're driving Nazi technology if you're driving a Volkswagen Beetle.
And with that,
also, hey, if you support America, Operation Paperclip, if you go America first to space, the space shuttle is Nazi technology as well. So
and the jet fighter.
And then and the jet fighter and the missile and everything else. Operation Paperclip. Maybe I'm not going to give it away. Google it. Everybody, just go look it up. Operation Paperclip. Maybe we'll talk about that next time. I love that.
Yep, and banging fat chicks drunk on beer. That's a German thing by nature.
All right, on that note, I think we're going to call it a night.
Yeah, there's a bunch of progressives out there. Oh, my God, these guys are racist and Nazis.
Wow. Well, hey, anybody that bangs fat chicks and wears lederhosen.
Well, yeah, so with that, check out tactical16.com. That's great. There's your plug, Eric. If you like books.
Don't forget, so some of us, we got some listeners that are submitting questions and watching us. Don't forget, every Sunday night you can join in on the conversation live via Google Hangouts. So if you follow us on Facebook, Senator Master Robin Silent J, YouTube, Google+, Twitter, any of these other methods that are out there, we'll announce. We put links out before the show so you can follow it live. But we do this every Sunday. We start at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you click on that link, you can come and actually participate in the show. So you might be hearing this on Vets on Media, on iTunes, on Podbean, or any other place out there in the world. But if you're available Sunday nights between 7 and 10 Pacific Standard Time, 10 and 12 Eastern Standard Time, you can actually join in on the conversation. So we had a lot of viewers that were listeners that were watching us live and submitting questions while we were doing this tonight. Anybody out there can do this. Just follow us on Google+, click on that link on Sunday nights, and you can actually join in and submit questions as the show goes along. So if you like this, if you like our, the questions that we have, the stuff that we go over, if you see a guest that you really like, you can submit questions, and you don't even have to wait until the show starts. Once we open up the Q&A for each different show, you can go in pre-recording. You can go in before the show actually starts and submit a question, and we'll have it. We'll get it. If it's not just a joke towards us, we'll read it live on air, and maybe give you some props. Maybe we should have just nothing but like a listener and viewer show one of these days. But again, thanks to all of you that are joining us and are listening in. There are so many different methods that we can do this. But again, thanks for following us wherever you are getting it. Yep. Joe, what? I know you got something to say, man.
I was just going to say check out vetsonmedia.com.
And don't start a firestorm of racist comments with...
Yeah. Don't sit there and be pro-lesbian and, pro-Nazi technology just because you heard it here. Think outside the box. That's what we encourage. Just go and get smart, okay? And I couldn't have said that in the dumbest of ways. Just go get smart.
Speaking of getting smart, don't forget to take your Alpha Brain before our next show next Sunday, or your Hemp Force Protein, or your New Moon, or Alpha Brain, or any of that stuff. There's a link on Vets on Media. If you click on that link, it will send a little bit of love to our show and give you a discount on your purchase, or you can use that checkout code RPL if you can't find the link or it's giving you some difficulty. So again, thanks for everybody for listening to us tonight. This has been Center Mass with Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I am older Silent J.
And as always, I would like to say thanks for joining us. And don't forget to stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, then let it begin here. Peace out, bitches.
Yep.